Carlton Woodard with some earlier members of the church for the 50th anniversary.
Thank you. It was a long, long time ago. In fact, it was 42 years earlier than when I became a member of the church. I thought as a child, I went to the branch and I thought it had just opened up, but little did I know that the missionaries came here 42 years earlier. I have some things I'd like to show you. You may be able to see some of them. This is an original copy of the Sunday school meeting during that period of time. In 1898, this is the original copy, front and back. And I happened to come across it and took care of it. I want to convey a 1936 perspective as I saw it. And maybe I could say something that might be helpful to some of the newer members of the church, because I've kind of reached the old age now. The missionaries came in our area, and I recall so vividly they would come and teach us the gospel sometimes 6 months before we'd get baptized. And being a child, I was 7, and I had to wait till the next year to get baptized when I was 8. My parents and my sister got baptized, and then I came the next year. The missionaries traveled and they held meetings in the homes, also at Line and Blake Street, Bluestein Building, and Knights of Columbus, and early members' homes for the Tomlin, Woods, and the Rivers, and a whole bunch of other people kept the little fledgling branch together. In 1903, Charles Callis was president of the Southern States Mission. In 1928, we began talking about building a building. Well, you see, it would be another 8 years before I would even be a member. In fact, I wasn't a 1-year-old when he was talking about building the building. 1929, they organized a Charleston branch of the LDS Church. Brother Tomlin was the branch president. And Brother Tomlin is this, if I can show you my picture. I've got a large picture of him here somewhere. Okay. Yes. This is Brother Tomlin's picture. You might want to take a look at that. He's a branch president, really very faithful. Him and his wife, Brother and Sister Tomlin. I remember them very vividly. One of the things I remember him, he moved out west, and he came back to Charleston years later and said, "I've come back to pass on," and he did. He said, "I've come back to die." Anyway, I just want to show you that. I try to make this as informal as we can. This picture here, I'm going to tell you, is an original picture. I've had it for years, decades. It's the original old picture of the Savior. And when we left Gordon Street, our second building, this was getting ready to be discarded, and I grabbed a hold of it. It was in the old original building. It was on Gordon Street, and it was in this building, but they took it down, and I saved it. However, we met in the Knights of Columbus building and lots of places and such as that. But he organized the branch in 1929. In 1930, the building at 1220 King Street was built. This is President Callis in the middle of this picture, and all the various missionaries and other members of the ward, priesthood bearers and such as that. This is him right in the middle there. He was later became an apostle and such as that. 1930 was the time that the people had a home, they had a building, and when you got a building, you have a place to meet and socialize and such as that. However, the next 6 years, by the way, Brother Tomlin was the one that supervised for building the building too. And the next 6 years, the members kept faithful. Brother Groves, Tomlin, Evans, Woods, Crosby, Rivers, Hannah, Howard, Risher, Woodard, and a whole pile of others. Brother Lamb, so Brother and Sister Bassinger, just a whole lots of the older people, which many of them are all past. There's a very few of these people left now. Brother Groves I remember so vividly, Brother Groves would walk the streets. I mean up and down North Carolina. And then it was just called Carolina Street. It was a dirt street with a trolley car coming down. and he would visit our house, but he walked those streets and tried to keep all the people together. He'd leave a spiritual message with us. Just any time of the day, he just was a guy that was really interested in seeing that people love Christ. It took something else to get the man to move, and that was ladies. And I want you to know that those ladies were really movers. They didn't fiddle around. They got the job done. One of the things I might tell you, they raised $33.19 at the fair on a cake sale. They donated that to the building fund. And not only that, they paid half of the rest of the thing in the building. I don't recall the exact amount. It was something like $3,000 or $4,000 for the building. But anyway, one of the things during this period of time was people were a little bit reluctant for a good little while, even during World War II, to say, well, what church are you a member of? Well, I'm a member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, commonly known as the Mormon Church. And I somewhat inwardly resented being called a Mormon. I wanted all of my life to relate the Book of Mormon with Christ openly. And I might make a comment that finally in the last, 10 years ago, maybe not quite that long, maybe 8 or 9 years ago, they put another testament to Jesus Christ on the front of the Book of Mormon, and I was thrilled. I was baptized in 1936 in April in the Stonewall River, and I remember very vividly because it was cold, and we got dressed in the right with a passenger of a Model T Ford. It was very, very ancient days, really. However, being a child, you run out in the water and you get baptized and come back in and had to get dressed, and it was kind of cool. We had a tragedy during that time. President Evans now, it's his mother. His mother is Gertrude, and her 10-year-old brother drowned at Goose Creek. And I remember vividly the night that happened as a child, and it was very, very sad, all the crying and going on. You could hear it. And one of his uncles took him fishing and he drowned. The boat either tipped or somehow, but he did drown. And it was very, very depressing. It was a terrible time for the family and friends. He was 10 years old. Anyway, we did complete the building, and this is a little picture here of Allen Crosby. That's one of Louis's brothers, doing some baptizing and such, and he's participating in a baptism in one of the rivers on one of the islands. And that's how we got baptized. We didn't have a font. And I'll tell you about how we did get a font in a few minutes. This is a picture of Brother Groves' hair. This is them hair. This is President Evans's grandfather.
Can you turn the picture a little bit?
This is President Evans's grandfather, R.L., and this is Brother Groves. I think they called him R.L., I'm not sure, but that's his grandfather. This is Brother Groves, that's Brother Groves' wife. I remember this lady, but I don't know her name, but it's right here, though. Her name is Sister Kennedy, that lady, and this lady here is Sister Hyers, Nellie Miles. I want to call her Sister Smith, but it's not. Her name is Sister Miles. I remember all of them very, very vividly. This picture here is a picture of how we met. This is a little boy here that drowned, and this is Brother Groves in the background. This is President Evans's mother, Gertrude, now, and she's still living. She's an elderly lady like we are. This lady, oh, he's gone and they're gone. Oh, this is my brother, and that's me, and such as this bunch of little children meeting for primary. I remember that very vividly. And this lady here is one of the lady missionaries. I remember her too. And this lady here is that lady, and this man is her. I want to say her parents, I'm sure, because they're her grandparents. Okay, this is a picture of the finished building. And the lot was only 40 feet wide, and the building took almost the whole thing up. So if you walked in on this side, you could see the door here down the side, and that was the full width of the building, and it took almost the whole lot. So there's no way else to take a picture but on the front. But that's what it looks like. I just wanted to show you those. Okay, let's see what else we got now. So with that, okay, that's 7 months. Brother Hiram Woods was the branch president, and I wanted to show you, Sister Woods was one of the leaders of the young girls, and this is a young girls meeting, and this is Sister Woods right there. This is one of that same, I think she's one of the lady missionaries. This is my sister here, and I can name a lot of these girls. I don't recognize them all, but that's my sister right there. The one with the water on it. No, I shouldn't joke about that, because I tease her all the time. She doesn't have one. But we tell everybody they got a wart on the end of their nose. Makes them humble. Anyway, I just wanted to show you that. Okay, though, this is a picture of Brother Hiram Woods, truly a good man, a carpenter. And I asked him one time, I said, Brother Bishop Woods, he was the bishop of the ward, and then Bishop Royal came in. I said, Bishop Woods, what do you do when you bust your finger and your fingers turn brown, you know, blue blood under your fingernail and all? And he said, Colin, I just say, oh, Father, help me, oh, Father, help me. I said, well, I wish I would say that. But anyway, I just want to mention that to you. These are just some memories this is the Beehive Banquet, Sister Woods, and I got a little circle around her. That's Sister Woods, but that's Hiram's wife. Truly, two people that help us, the regular old stalwarts in the church. They're the ones that they were the oak trees in the church. They made the church what it is. I know God's got some blessings for them too. Okay. From 1935, everything, and one of the things that really helped the Charleston branch expand and membership came up and activity, all kind of things, and it changed that and the world. It was World War II. And just prior to this time, Bishop Woods, we needed a place to baptize, and rather than going out on the road. So Bishop Woods, being a carpenter, we had a little stage, and the building wasn't just 28 feet, maybe 30, by about 50. This is a rectangular shaped building with a restroom on each end in the back, and a little stage this high across the front. But that man was sharp enough, he took that stage and arranged it to fold back up against the front wall of the church and put the font under it. So you come in the little side door, go down in the font, get baptized, let the water out, and then when you go back outside, the man would lower that deck. We always had our stage was on top of the font, and it worked really good. So anyway, we outgrew it, but it was good. We had Golden Green balls. We used to go to Columbia 3 hours one way. We go to every month. We'd go to the union meetings and Sunday school and try to keep things going. But we had ball games for the young people, and Dallas did try to make things good where the young people would have something to do when they came to church. We met a lot of times, also for decades, on Tuesday night and Thursday night priesthood, and then the ladies would meet at night, either Wednesday or Relief Society. And it would change back and forth. And then Sunday was Sunday morning. You had Sunday school and sacrament and all that. Then you had another meeting that night, your sacrament meeting. And you had a rendezvous at church. You had a place to go Sunday evening. But now that has been changed, I don't know, 20 years ago, maybe 18, 20 years ago. However, when I was little, I remember the old building. I used to go down there. We'd have to prepare the building, straighten up all the chairs, put out the song books, and tidy up, and prepare the sacrament and as a young priesthood bearer, because we didn't have paper cups. We had to take the little glasses, little tiny glasses, and wash them, boil them, and wash them, and then put them back in the thing and then put water in them. But they had to be. We had a little thing like a colander, and we put the glasses in, wash them first, put it in it, and you boil them again, and then you dry them, then you use to put water in. By this time, during this period, the war had started, and servicemen began coming in. But our big meetings, we were still holding those at Nice at Columbus down on King Street. I remember very vividly, it was still a mission, you see. We had mission meetings, President McBride would come down. But so often the young people and everybody in the ward held multiple positions because they didn't have enough people to go around. So we tried to do the best we could with what we had. But anyway, we did want you to know, I was trying to tell you 2 or 3 little things. That was, we did have air conditioning. I want you to know that. Namely, we raised all the windows, and we had fans from the funeral parlor. We'd sit there, you know, and fan while Brother Groves was doing a number on us, because he would do a hellfire and brimstone on you. We needed it too. He was a good speaker, and he loved the church. When he was a young man, he lost one of his eyes cutting wood shingles, and he had to hold the book up like this to see out his other eye. And he knew the scripture by heart. He could quote it and everything you want. But anyway, we did have the church was a daily, and I mean a daily part of our lives. I don't mean just in thought. I mean and physically, going here, doing this. Church 3 times a week. It was puts it almost every other day. We had to do all the, we did most of the things ourselves during that early period of time. You wanted a building, you had to see that it was built and provide your part of the money. And sometimes you had to come up with 70%, and then it's 50-50. Depends on the period of time. As a young child, we went to church in a milk truck, and I was very embarrassed to do that. And really, I never did kind of forget the kind of embarrassment of having to take the milk truck. We used to deliver milk, and we had a panel truck, as did a couple of the other people had pickups, and panel trucks. They had all the children down there. But anyway, it was a hard time in life, and it wasn't a lot of thrills and fun and games. It was a lot of work. But like I say, 1941 changed everything, and the people came in that had good, like Brother Brewerton. He had a good vocabulary, and he's a super speaker. Brother Tusha, and several other outstanding service people. And Brother Tusha was a local man, but he came into church later on during that period of time. He could really talk, and it helped us so tremendously. But in 1949, see, the war's over now, and after the war, everything was still expanding. Not only that, we were getting a lot of, during that latter part of 49, we started getting MUSC students, and they only assisted along with the service people. So we had two things going for us. Our ward also was on Gordon Street. When we got in it, it was up to 700 members before they divided it. However, in 49, we did start that building on Gordon Street, and I had some. This is a picture here of the groundbreaking ceremony, and Bishop Royal. Now, by the time we got over there, he was the bishop. You see, he was the bishop upon that new building, and that's one of the pictures. And here's another one here. You might want to look at that, just such as this. I can recognize all these people in this vault. I know every one of them. And that's my father right there, and Bishop Royal right there, and such as that. Okay, and just for kicks, this is a picture of the building on Gordon Street. That's a completed building. And after we left there, we came over to this building. We upgraded to this. And this building we're still in there. We've added a big wing over. No, it's already on. I can see it's been added on over here. So this is a late model picture, the latest thing. Behind this piece here, now we built a big history right along here, a big history center, family history. And this is Bishop Royal and his family. I have a picture of him. This man was a college student, a bishop. He also had a mortician license. He was a magistrate and had a big family all at the same time. And he was truly a man of God, and a man that was truly kept the faith. I've seen him before. The church would tell us, you know, it's not good to eat chocolate because it has caffeine in it too. And we should try to refrain from that. And one time we had a party, and somebody brought a chocolate cake, and he knew that people were watching him, and he ate that cake, but not the icing. And it was, people recognized that. He believed that, and that's what he did. That's how he always did everything. In 1951, we moved into that building on Gordon Street, and but we didn't dedicate it because it wasn't finished. We were using it. And I used to work at the post office, and I get off at 10:30. We go and work on the church and put down the floors and put the steeple up. And Bishop Woods was a contractor on that building now, while the Tomlin was on the first building. This building was subbed out there's a steak stand that was subbed out to a regular general contractor. A lot of times the church leaders would tell us things that you know we should do. I recall, so one time my mother was asked to make some brownies. They were going to try to raise some money. In the Relief Society, those people, those ladies, they didn't mess around. They got it done. And they'd shake around and come up with a program that's unbelievable. But anyway, they had a lot of things going on at the fair, and they asked my mother to make some brownies. And I said, Mama, how much are you going to have in these brownies? And she figured it out. She said, well, it's going to be about 25 cents a piece when I cut them. And she could make good brownies. I said, Mom, they're going to sell them for 10 cents a piece. Why don't you just give them the money? No, they wanted the brownies. So and later I found out why. You see, the brownies would cause people to come over for a brownie for a dime. And they talked about the church, missionary work. The Book of Mormon was there, see. And it was really good. I learned a lesson from that one. But anyway, we did do a lot of work in this building. And Bishop Royal showed you his picture. President McBride was a mission president at this time. And as the church progressed, he was there. He traveled all around the state. He was from out west, and he was a lawyer for the Veterans Administration. But he really believed in the work, and he did his work well. However, from 52 to 72, we were at 51 Gordon Street. And of course, we had a mission in the SC stake, and the South Carolina East stake, and the West stake, and then the Charleston stake. And we're in the Charleston stake now. 51 Gordon Street, we stayed there, well, we stayed 20 years there. And we had a huge 6-foot, it was about 6 feet, big fan in the back end of the cultural hall. And we opened those doors across the front on the street side, and it was full air right through it. And it would kind of cool. It didn't have any air conditioning, but it did help tremendously. And then a little later on, one of the members put in, I think one of the Evanses, so it helped us get air conditioning in that building. And then Heber Evans converted a big patio facing the building on the left. He converted that into the primary room for the children. They had their own little chairs and a little rostrum and things for them, and that was the primary. But I think Brother Heber Evans did that one. We put up we didn't have a basketball court in that building until 1962. It would be 10 years before we could get one. One of the leaders didn't particularly think we ought to have a basketball in there. We had no showers and stuff like that, and the children didn't use them anyway. But in 1962, we did get one court, and I want you to know they played basketball on that court. Right about that time, it was a little bit, in 62, the wards were divided, and then it was a Charleston first, Charleston second, and third. And the first and third came to this building, while the second moved to the north area up in Deer Park. And that building wasn't done, so they stayed in that building for probably another year. And then, of course, they moved out, and the church sold it. But we had a lot of fun. A lot of things were done. Bishop Hoffa was one of the bishops from out west, and he came here. I recall so Beverly. Bishop Woods was in that same building on Gordon Street, and they put on a play one night, and Bishop Woods and whoever the other party was, they had to have a scuffle. And that was the funniest thing. They would dance around like two roosters, never touched each other. They didn't know how to act, but it was funnier than it was, because it reminded me of Red Fox with his swinging his fist, on the TV. But it was really, really funny, and everybody was about to die laughing. But anyway, that and other things were pleasurable things to remember. But the 1960s, times changed, and we had as many as 16 missionaries in our ward. They all had cars, and they had big dances for the children. And it was a moving time for the church. It was a trying time. The 60s were for the culture and all that stuff that went on in the church, trying to hang on to the young people and teach them what's right. However, all these years, the auxiliaries were going and moving and getting bigger and bigger. And they did. I recall so that we sold this very lot we're in now. We sold Christmas trees here for years. And Doc Evans would be the one that he'd always engineer the lot to sell the trees. And Bishop Dankowitz would be the one that would order them and see that all the head work was done, and the painting and all the shipping and the trains to come in on the train. We'd have to rent big trucks to go get them off the siding and load the trucks and bring them over here. We'd put up a trailer here and we'd make money to pay for our portion for this very lot and our building. But after we got in it, we couldn't do that anymore. But over on Gordon Street, after Bishop Royal was there, then Bishop Harper, and then the wards were divided, and we had several short-term bishops in 62, 3, 4, and from 62 to about 70, it's right along there somewhere. And then Walter Hawley came to town. He came to town in 64 when his brother died, and he came here, and he was going to take care of his father's property. And he came back. He came and went in business. He started building apartments, and he was really a mover. And he put on a big play for the ward when he came to town, and they came in down the hall singing when the saints come marching in. It was a very moving thing. Anyway, he was one of the movers that helped us get this building, and particularly that gym. He was counted everything that was legal to count. And I think he would have counted a telephone pole if it had moved, but it didn't move, so he couldn't count it. But all the service people that was overseas, all those are legitimate to count them, even though they were on duty elsewhere. They were members of this ward, and they were legitimately away going to church somewhere else. So we got this building, and it's really been a help to us. However, we moved in here in 1973. It started sometime in I don't know, 70 maybe. Okay, so anyway, after that, the servicemen still kept coming. We had every branch of the service here. Knew they were a real asset. And then MESC, they became a university years earlier, and there's just more and more students, which were really a help. So anyway, right now, I'll hold up for just a moment. I was talking about Sister Godfrey, and I think of all the ladies and all the good things they did, but she was truly a lady that loved the children. I think she could have really loved them into understanding what she was saying, but she was really a super teacher. And she moved out west, and she's been to Charleston a few times since she moved out, and I see her when I go out west also. I recall little things back and forth that happened during the span of 62 years. And I recall Bishop Rowe, things that were really counted. One time we were in the old chapel on King Street, and we wanted to do something for the young boys, you know. Some of them were a little heavier than the others, and some were skinny. And of course, he wanted to have some boxing bouts, and he had the gloves, big gloves, you know, and he had the ring, and this was behind the old chapel. One, I guess, 30 or 40 feet to the railroad track, and the railroad train would come by. We'd have to stop the service. I guess they thought the spur was coming, but it was really a steam engine. But anyway, we were prepared for it. We knew how to do that. But we will have these fights, boxing matches rather, and all of a sudden, well, the boxers was swinging each other and blah blah blah, you know, and it was fun. And then when it was over, Bishop Royal determined that particular fight was a draw. We did not have a winner. So the next group came up, and they would do the very same. It was this children swinging and all. They didn't know how to box, you know, and they were doing all the type of movements and all that stuff, you know. And sure enough, The next one was another draw. And brothers and sisters, I want to tell you, we never had a winner. Every fight was a draw. And we could see his wisdom through that, so that one child wouldn't feel all about his companion, his friend. But everyone was a draw. And I often thought of that so many times. I recall President Evans's father, as Tommy Sr., he was when he cut out the war, he came back from the war, he was living over on Chicora Avenue, and they were just working people. And of course, through the years, Tommy became very wealthy, and he was very liberal with his money too. And he would take the scouts, take us up to the Rebel 300 and rent a box. And we had our private box, put all 20 of them in that box and have plenty of room. Saw the whole race. And he'd take us to the fish camp up on Santee and catch shad and such as that. And he would take us to Palmyra, the whole busload of us boys. And well, I was one of his assistants, and all the young boys went. And that was in the early 60s, 60 or 61. And well, we did have lots of fun. But the boys, we left the pageant, we wanted them he was going to take us to the Niagara Falls. And those boys had a choice to go to Niagara Falls, one was 80 miles away. And then they wanted to go either to that or a big amusement park just outside of Washington, was in Maryland. I think it was called some type of Echoes or something, but it was a big with a roller coaster and all this stuff.
Glen Echo.
Glen Echoes, yes, that was it. And and you know how that did. We were about 15 miles down the road heading for Niagara Falls. Boys, we got a real treat for you. Then the howls went up. Well, Tommy lost, totally lost. And we went back and took them to the Glen Echoes, and they did have a ball, and he never forgot it either. But he wanted to do what they wanted to do, so they would have lots of fun. My mother and father and our family, we never discussed if we were going to church. It was not discussed, we just going. And like I said, off times it was, for years, it was Tuesday, Thursday, Sunday morning, Sunday evening, plus some events on Saturday evening. And the church was a very, very prominent part of our lives. It was not a one-time thing. It was a daily, and of course all the missionaries would come by the house, and Brother Groves and a whole bunch of people, which I had mentioned previously. But my mother played the piano. My mother was very, very frightened to stand up and speak, and she never did. She never gave a talk. She never gave a prayer. But I remember one time we were in the little room on the old chapel beside the stage having a little meeting prior to Sunday school starting, a little prayer meeting. We couldn't get but about 6 people in the room. It wasn't but 3.5 feet wide and about 9 feet long with the stage. And whoever it was, I don't recall, I said, Sister Woodard, would you give a prayer, close the meeting with prayer? And my mother looked at me and said, Carlton, give the prayer, please, thank you. And we laughed about that so many times that she never would. She was just too frightened. But she played the piano all of her life until she got so old, until she made so terribly many mistakes. The bishop had to let her be relieved. And my mother died 3 months of 90, but up until, I guess, 10 or 12 years, probably that's 10 or 12, but prior to that she was still playing the piano and the organ. Bishop Woods was another man who was very prominent in our building of our ward. He was there, and he was truly a man of God, and I don't ever want to let that pass by. My father did what the people asked him to do, and he did a lot of things in the church that would require people to get together and try to do the leg work and things of that nature. We had to go, during the missionary time, we had the various halls. We had, like other people would say, we had to clean them. And even the nights at Columbus Hall, we'd have a meeting on Sunday morning. We'd have to go in and clean it good before we could have a meeting. And it was so strange because it was not the chapel, and we had no big chapel to go to. I recall something that I don't recall being mentioned, that when the Hawleys came back, Fred came back with him, and Fred was a bishop for 3 years. After we had several short-term bishops, and
but he stayed 3 years, and then as soon as they released him, they made him the state president. And then his brother Walter took over, and he was after him. But anyway, Walter was a very moving person. His wife was named Floyd, and Fred's wife was named Marilyn. And they came from out west, and those two boys are raised here. They went out west, and when they came back, they could make what was called scones or elephant ears, and it was a piece of fried bread, big large piece of fried bread with honey butter on it. And they started taking that thing down, cooking those things down to the Gilead Auditorium on Christmas, during the Christmas days when they had all the things for sale down there. It was about a good 2-week time, 2-week period, and those things sold like you wouldn't believe, because they were good, really, really good. They were 50 cents, and you got a big one, and it's a half of a meal. But they cooked those things. I would go down and do the electric work for them. I was an electrician, and I could do the connect up the electric stoves and all the power for them and such as that. But anyway, while they were doing that, then Marilyn and Sister Lyons and Floyd, and Sister Lyons, after other people moved away, she still did a whole pile of it. But in the latter years, we don't do that anymore. And they would cook what was called, the people would come in and say, listen, who's selling that Mormon bread? We want some Mormon bread. Well, it was really, really good bread. And that was not the elephant ears. There was two different things. They'd cook this wheat bread, and it was super, super good. And they'd sell it like mad. But anyway, just things that was interesting to know. For years and decades, my mother would, and I know she did, and I don't know who actually did the sacrament, but you'd think the tooth fairy brought the bread to church, because the bread was just there for sacrament ahead of time. And it was all cut, and no crust was on it. It was all cut in 3 or 4 squares, just all the crust was cut off. And I've cut it off many a time myself, so it would be real super nice, because that sacrament was special. But I would go there, and one of the things that I don't think I may not have mentioned to you, I wanted everything to be reverent, and I did want that so bad. And even today, we could take a lesson with some reverence. And anyway, you know, talking in church and things of that nature. But I wanted, this is back on King Street, old Brother Groves. He had his right eye was covered with this frosted glass. He had his eye blinded when he was making shingles as a young man, and he couldn't really see out of his other eye. He had to hold the book close up to him. And he would come down the little sidewalk, come in that little alcove, and I had all the books put out, and the chairs were lined up, and everything was ready. And he'd pull a little curtain in the alcove, and those people that were late, they could, you know, the deacons, they would take the tray and just push it a little bit through the curtain, and those that were late could partake of the sacrament. They'd have the bread and the water. Well, I said, well, that is really nice. You won't interrupt the sacrament being done in the main auditorium. The bishop, the vice president, they wanted to do that too. So Brother Groves, he'd come up, you know, and come in that little alcove, open those curtains right in the middle of sacrament, close those curtains and sit down. And that would, as a teenager, that would tear me out. But anyway, I laughed about that so many times. I used to work at the post office, and we were building the Gordon Street Chapel. I mean, it was just a part of our life. I'd get off most of the time 10:30 in the morning, and they didn't particularly like that, because the boss told me, the government, the postmaster, said I had to make a full day out of it, and I refused to do that. I went to work at 7 and got off at 11 o'clock. I was finished. But anyway, that didn't last too long, because I couldn't do their method. But I'd go by the church, and Bishop Woods was over there. We'd do all kind of carpenter work. And a lot of the guys, Doc Evans and Gene Woods and a whole bunch of us guys that could swing a hammer, we put that maple floor down in that chapel just like walking a dog. And it went down real nice. We'd get up there and paint the overhead, the ceilings and all that. There was nothing to it. Just get in there and do it. So I had a lot of time I could help, and not only that, but willingly. But I think I mentioned to you, I'm not certain, when we were digging footings and all this, old Brother Groves, I think I mentioned this, he was going to be at that church. I think if he didn't come, I don't know if anybody else would come, tell you the truth. But really, but we wanted him to be there. And his job was a water boy. And oh, brother, he'd come around and he was doing the absolute best he could. And he would keep the water coming to us, you know, as an old man. And I never forgot that. And many times tears come to my eyes thinking about that. But folks, I don't have really a whole lot of things left to say that I can think of. It's just that my father and mother, our family, like all the other older families in the old building. In closing, I wanted to pay a tribute to my wife, who has been a really a good, active person in the church. She became a member of the church in 1957, and all the years prior to that, I did not have to be concerned about my children at all going to church. They were ready to go, they were prepared. I did my priesthood work, and those children were ready to go, even though she was not a member. And she always saw that they were ready to go to church, and always welcomed the people in the church in our home. And there was no strain at all whatsoever. She just did it. And in 1957, the result of her and her listening to the gospel, she became a member. And one of the things that she excelled in, other than being the primary president, Relief Society president, and the home teaching, and the home visiting, and all the rest of the things, and helping with the bread down, which I mentioned, down at the Gilead Auditorium, and selling it and such as that. Those ladies would put on these country dresses, you know, and sell the bread. Well, Jeanette didn't cook it. She was on the sales staff, and she would, you know, help serve the people and such as that, as the line would form, and it was a long line to achieve do it as quickly as we could. Other than that, one of the things that she really excelled in was genealogy, and she could do that absolutely blindfolded. I want you to know that I can go back to my aunt and uncle, and I get lost. But Jeanette, not only did she do it in the church, but she did it in the various genealogy groups throughout the state of South Carolina, in Conway and Horry County, and all just here and there, all over, giving seminars, because it was a thing that she could flat do. And she can still do it, but she's not so terribly well today, and she has to do what she can do with a little bit of time she has without being fatigued. As a result of all the good things she did, our children, we have 4 children, we had 4 children, and they were brought up strictly according to the gospel. We sat them beside us in church and learned how to behave, and we just had it was a part of growing up in their life, and as a result of it, they're active today. And I have one son in Arizona. He has 4 children. My other daughter, she has 2 daughters, and Raymond still lives with us. We want you to know that, and I personally want you to know I'm grateful for all the good things that she did to cause our family to stay together. Because so many days and years I was out working till midnight trying to make ends meet. But she filled in all that time. I want you to know that I am a hardcore believer in the gospel of Jesus Christ, and I believe the doctrine, and I believe the presidency of the church. They teach us what God wants us to know, and it's for my good. And I feel that I should willingly try to do the things they tell us to do. I want you to know that I'm a believer that the Savior will come back one day, and maybe some of us will be able to come forth in that first resurrection. I bear testimony of this, and I do it humbly in Jesus' name. Amen.
I go back to King Street. I go back to King Street Extension.
And what is your name?
Ralph G. Risher. My mother, my brother, my sisters, we all went there in the 1940s. 38, I wasn't in for 29.
Okay, let's keep going around.
I'm Dolores Risher, my husband, and we We have 4 boys. They're all members of the church, and I go back to Gordon Street.
My name is Chris Cooper. We first moved to Charleston in 1961 and attended church at Gordon Street Chapel.
My name's Cindy Willis Oglesby. I grew up on Gordon Street. I can remember being a child there, and I'm kin to Crosby's.
You're still a child.
Yes.
I am Ellie Crosby Willis Harvey. Now, I remember King Street branch, and who was Bishop there was Bishop Woods at the time. Then I remember Gordon Street real well.
My name is Ruth Foster, and I wasn't a member during the King Street Church, but I became a member at Gordon Street Church. Bishop Royal baptized me in 1957. And I was Sunday school teacher for the primary, and after that I was MIA president, and then the board split into 2 wards, and then they had new officers, so I got out of that, and then I went into the Secretary-Treasurer of Mutual for about 20 years.
Well, I go back to Gordon Street. I'll have to correct Ellie on one thing, that Bishop Woods was branch president first.
Well, that's right.
He was branch president first, because we hadn't become a ward yet. And
What's your name, lady?
my name is Claire Catherine Risher Talent,
You like the King Street?
and I go back to King Street,
King Street.
way back. We started going to King Street, it must be around 1932, 1933.
Well, you're older than me.
My father, no, I'm not. My father died in 1932, and we started coming to church pretty soon after that. I was in 1933. No, wait, I know so.
I remember your mom.
And my mother, of course, was one of the pioneers on the King Street. She was the first one to play the piano. I remember when we used to have relief societies at our home on Ray Street, 27E Ray Street. I remember all the chairs set up in the living room for the quilting. They put the quilting, whatever those things are called, where the reliefs would, yeah, because they'd come to Mama, because Mama couldn't go to bed. We had a piano. They'd come here to the house, and we'd practice for the music, various ones that sang, and they had quartets and duets, you name it. And then too, I remember all the parties we had at our house. I remember all that cocoa, hot chocolate floating around, and the marshmallows floating around in the little china cups, and the cake squares, and all of those things I remember. And I could go on and on and on
You
and on.
made us hungry, Claire.
That's true.
That's right.
We had a lot of parties at our house. And it was much easier to heat our house than it was to do King Street. And then on the other hand, we lived a good ways from there. We had no car.
Your mama was a wonderful
My
cook.
mother was a wonderful cook,
Oh,
right?
mercy.
And I could go on and on. I could
Yeah,
tell you
yes.
what you want to know. I taught it I taught Sunday
You said
school on King
1930?
Street. I was active in a little bit of primary. We didn't have too much primary there when my child was little. And I did not attend primary. It wasn't that active when it came to the church. Maybe a few times, but that was it.
Wait now. Well, not on King Street, but on Gordon Street.
No, I'm
there.
talking about King
Yeah, I
Street.
know, but on Gordon Street, you were my primary teacher.
Right, on Gordon Street, I was your
So
primary.
that's when she stopped being so
I was-
active in primary?
I was also a junior Sunday school coordinator on Gordon Street.
Yeah, that's right.
And I also was.
And who played the
Relief
piano?
Society. No, I didn't play the
No,
piano.
no, who did play the piano on Gordon Street?
I got to think, because
The
Don,
junior Sunday school.
Aunt Pearl, yeah.
Oh, Gene
whatever.
Woods Jr.
Gene Woods.
Gene Woods Jr. played the
Yeah.
piano for the
Yeah.
junior Sunday
That's
school.
right.
And he played it well.
Yeah.
and Don was my priesthood advisor, whatever, during the time that we had junior Sunday school. Don loved children. He's our brother that we lost. And he was back there with me. And then I was very active with the Relief Society. I was secretary for Relief Society. I was secretary for primary. I was counselor in primary. I was counselor in Relief Society. And I told you I was junior Sunday school coordinator. And I could go on and on, because some people think, I've never done anything in church since I've gotten so old. But I can tell you, I was there every time the church doors opened.
What
Every
about
time.
some of the bazaars that the Relief Society
Oh,
had?
boy.
And the
Oh, let's
fish
don't get
fries?
started. We gotta introduce two more people
Let's
first.
introduce two more people and then talk about that. Go ahead, Sister Good.
I'm Mary Beth Cooper, and we moved to Charleston in 1961 with our then 6 children. And this is my husband Emery. And we fell in love with the people in the ward. And we came from Georgia, a little branch where I joined the church and started working with my testimony, building my testimony. And so it was always this thought of grow up little branch and become a big ward, you know. Do everything and grow bigger and become a big ward. When we lived there, we walked out the back door across the street to the chapel. Emery would go over, all the priesthood would gather early. I'd send the kids over at 10 till, at 5 minutes till, I'd walk over to church. It was quite nice. And so we moved to Charleston. We had to travel 30 minutes to church, and that was kind of hard for us, you know. And then I was primary president there. Immediately after I joined the church, I was made primary president, and I cut my teeth on the gospel in primary. And it was a calling that always was closest to my heart. And I do have a 20-year pen with primary, but I have more years than that. And I've served as Relief Society counselor and Relief Society president. I've served as counselor to the state Relief Society president. And taught in Relief Society. I have served 2 short tenures, I guess you'd say, in young women, but because at that time we had children in young women and young men, and then we had children in primary, which is too difficult for me, so, and Eva was working in the young men, so we just said, okay, this is too much, you know, with the children. And so after we were here a little over a year, we had our last child, and so we have 7 children, we have 28 grandchildren, we have 1 great-granddaughter, and our family is still growing, and but we've made Charleston and the First Ward truly our home, and all the people here are our dearest friends and loved ones. And
We've always lived in the first
in the
ward.
First Ward.
We'll never lived in the second ward.
Never in the second ward. And we did.
I know what I'm missing.
We did. When we came here, we did go to the Gordon Street Chapel. So we were part of the building of this chapel, and saw it, you know, come about, and saw the growth of this, and the whole area, really. When we came to Charleston, there was 1 ward, and a year after we came here, it split, and our dearest friends, the Pipers, Gordon was made bishop of the 2nd ward, Emery was made bishop of the 1st ward, and so we hardly ever saw each other after that. I said I was very unhappy about that ward split, because it took our friends away from us in effect, because we had to work so hard doing everything in the ward to keep everything going. And so mostly our friends were the people in the ward. Our church friends were those within our ward.
Well, Honey was just introduced a while ago. That's her husband. And as she said, we moved here in '61, and I've been a part of practically all that she's talked about. And we had a wonderful experience down in South Georgia. Now, at the moment, having made you aware of who I am, I'll kind of leave it to be opened up for conversation, some of which is taking place. I do feel a little bit cheated and not having been a part of the King Street, but I have a very close feeling to the experiences that Ralph and Claire and others had down there, because we had similar experiences down in South Georgia, where I came from, when we would go off to district meetings. Now, we had our own little chapel, only 4x40, in Quitman, but when we go off to district meetings, we had to get there early in order to clean away certain types of bottles from the previous Saturday night social affair they would have had there, etc. As I understand, had to be done in King Street a good part of the time as well. So when they talked about the experiences at King Street, I was not unfamiliar with what they were talking about. And I really think in total that has helped in strengthening the position that that we who had those experiences had back then, because we realized how precious it was, even that little 24 by 40 building, because most of the branches in the surrounding towns did not have that. But we've been a very active part in the church since 1961 when we moved here, and have developed many people, not only as friends, but more importantly, that we look at just like we do our family. When they laugh, we laugh. When they cry, we cry. And it's been an excellent experience for us to be here.
You mentioned, Debbie, something about the people we remember. Of course, I do remember Sister Hannah.
Oh, yeah.
And I do.
Events.
Yes, Sister, that's true. And I remember Sister Ruby Evans.
Yes.
And right after we came here, when we were still one ward, she asked me to be responsible for making the punch for one of our Release Society socials. Well, that was a big responsibility for me. And I remember thinking, can I do this? And I'm laughing now because of how my life has been since then. But I remember doing that. I remember, making the punch, getting the recipe and making a lovely punch, delicious punch for our Release Society, and I felt so good about it. So our experiences in the church for growth are not only spiritual and eternal in that vein. We do grow temporally too, and I have grown tremendously since coming to Charleston.
How many of you remember Brother Jonas Rhodes?
That's all I
Yeah.
I was going to say, hey, it's time to talk about Jonas Grove.
That's right.
Yeah.
When he got up to,
You can forget
to
it.
talk, we always sang a song and got up and shook ourselves around a little bit and sit back down, because you might as well know you had an hour and a half then to go sit there. But he kept it interesting.
I can tell you some stories about Brother Groves. I can tell you some stories about Brother Groves, but I'm not sure you want to put it on tape.
We want to remember the good things.
He had to put his Bible up to his eyes like that, you see? And one night, we were on stage, Walter Hawley and I and a brother, several others, right back at a church on King Street was a railroad track and a whiskey store. And he'd stop the train right there and go in the whiskey store and buy whiskey. And it'd leave him out there all night. Or when after he stopped drinking, we don't know. But one night somehow somebody slipped a bottle in the Groves' pocket. Now he's always in one pocket, bringing out the Book of Mormon, and another pocket, bringing out the Bible. He brought this bottle out and looked up at it and read it, and put it back in his pocket and went right on preaching. To this day, I don't know if he knew it, he got it out.
He was President Woods, and Brother President, he was president of the branch.
Right.
Prior to him was Brother Tumbleson. Tumbleson. All right, his wife had one of her fingers partly taken off, and we were all scared to death of her.
What were you then, Claire?
I was young. But we were all scared to death because she just gave me the impression that she was real stern. All right, she had a daughter. Brother Tumbleson was not his daughter's father. But anyway, she had a daughter whose name was Josie, and she is still alive.
Joseph?
Josie.
Josie.
She's married to Macumba, I think the name is. I have her name and address and telephone number at home. She's in her 80s. She had 3 children, and Josie is the one that stands out. She's the one that really stuck with the church. Josie? No, she wasn't a Tumbleson. She was Josie Tyndall. Tyndall. See, Sister Tyndall was married the first time to Tyndall, and she had 3 children by him. I don't think she had any by Tumbleson, but we were scared to death of her. But anyway, I remember that so well, and I don't know, there's just so much I remember. I don't know how much
Do
you
you
know.
remember the building fund we had?
With the building fund, $20,000 sat on top of the piano. We had a little plaque with $20,000, and that was like all the money in the world.
We had to
We
raise
never made it.
to build the church.
And that's what we had to get in order to get into Gordon Street.
Had cake sales, covered dishes.
That's right, everything.
Lena Crosby's peach cobbler at 10 cents a dip.
And let me tell you something that Ralph's not telling you. My brother, Ralph. All right, he and Dolores were the first ones married on Gordon Street. They were the first wedding at 52 Gordon Street, held in the gymnasium, or cultural hall, whichever you want to call it. Ralph and Dolores Risha, October the 25th, 1950. President Wallace W. McBride, who was our state president in Columbia, and we all revered him. He performed the ceremony. And the chapel was yet to be dedicated. It was held in the gym. And the chapel was still yet to even be completed at that time. Sister Hannah, Alice Onita Hannah, she had a couple other husbands too, but Hannah was what she went by.
Yeah, that's right.
And, but she ran a rooming house on King Street, 264 King, over the optical shop. And every time President McBride came down, he always stayed at her place. President McBride was an attorney, and he did his attorneying with the government because he didn't want to lie. He really was a wonderful,
He'd be out of work
wonderful
today,
man.
then.
That's well, he just wasn't like that. But he would come down very often, and of course, he would even come to our house to some of these meetings. I could give proof of that through the minutes. That when we have releases on it, you know.
Well, how many remembers of root beer that Howard carried?
Oh, the Howard root beer with dry ice. Let me tell you the story about that. We had a youth conference at the Citadel, and Howard was in charge of the 1970 root beer, which because of the dry ice, it had sort of a smoke coming up, and we called it the Witch's Brew, and we made some fun remarks about what it would do to your insides and one thing and another. But lo and behold, he was stirring that with a big paddle that had a plastic type paddle on the end of the stick. That thing came off while he was and so we all had a big laugh to the effect that the Witch's Brew had eaten all the out of the stick. Let me tell you quickly though about Brother Groves, two things that I remember about him beyond the very deep, warm friendship that he and I had. Spent many hours with him. Was blessed for having done so. But when Brother Groves would get up, everything he said was positive.
Yeah.
I mean, really positive. And when the Lord made him, he made him for sound. He wired him for sound. He didn't need the microphone. He got up, and this one particular time, he says, I've been a member of this church for 58 years, for some long period of time. Obviously, shorter than what he was old. A period of time shorter than what he was old. Following him, the testimony meeting, following him, Chris got up, and the first thing he said was, as he pounded on the pulpit, he said, I've been a member of this church all of my life. So that was better than Brother Groves.
All right, and you must have been about what?
The serious thing about 6 to 8 of that 4 years.
Yeah.
But the serious thing about Brother Groves was, for the first time in 1963, I went into the hospital to, well, you always go in the hospital the first time to have your appendix out, I guess. I went in the hospital to have my appendix out, and it had slipped up on me during the night, and I really was in critical pain for the balance of the night and into the morning until we could get to the doctor and so forth, which gave us time to get Brother Groves, and I don't remember who else came with him to give me a blessing. I don't remember what he said, but I remember feeling, even though I was in a very dazed condition, they'd given me many shots of painkiller at that point, and I don't remember what he said, but I remember feeling the Spirit. And folks, I'm here to tell you that after the operation, I never took as much as one aspirin till this day from that operation. The nurses would come in, they said, Mr. Cooper, don't be a hero. The doctor prescribed pain medicine for you. I said, I'm no hero, believe me. If I need it, I'll let you know. I never needed it, and to this moment, I believe that through Brother Groves and the power that he had to bless people, that was my blessing, that I would recover from
He's a
that.
good man.
Yes, he was. And we're just blessed with no pain or restrictions whatsoever.
We can remember those people in order, Doctor. There was Brother Woods, Brother Groves, Brother Tumbleson, Brother Royal, Brother
Harper.
Harper.
Harper, Brother Evans.
Emery.
Gene
And
Wood.
who was the
Gene
paint?
Wood.
Who was the paint business?
Pardon?
Was it Evans?
Evans, right?
In the paint.
Painting house.
It was Johnny Nelson, they've got all that. Fred I. Harley, Luther Howard Carroll.
Holly.
He died January the 17th, 1981. I mean, 82, excuse me. And T. Walter Hawley, he died November the 22nd, 1981. Well, we really have all that down on paper.
Yeah.
So who was the first?
Jeanette Woodard was primary president there when I was real young. And those of you who know Jeanette know that she has a very singular voice. And when I was real young, I couldn't figure out why this lady leading our primary cried the whole time she was talking to us from the pulpit. Because Jeanette talked like this, and she was a very sweet woman. And I thought she was crying half the time that she was up there. But the other thing that Cindy was telling me about,
I remember when I was first in Young Women's, or MIA when I was growing up, we had a party, a dance, and Walter Harley was the bishop, and he dressed like Booby Nash.
who was a radio
He
personality.
had a wig on. If you knew Walter Harley, he didn't have a stitch of hair on his head.
Not on the top of it.
On the top. And you didn't know who he was, and he came out there dancing.
I thought it was Booby Nash.
I tell you, I
Really?
laughed so hard.
I thought he was Booby Nash.
I'll tell you another thing that goes back to King Street and Gordon, and that was Chief Blue. He was Indian chief of the Catawba Indians, and he would come up sometime in his fold in Columbia. Yes, I remember. Now I'm not sure that I saw that or whether it's in my mind that my mama told me about it, but I know that I have seen it. People
I remember that now.
Chief,
Yeah.
Chief Blue. That's what I'm telling you. I go way back. Brother
Brother
DuPont.
than me.
Brother DuPont.
Going back to cowboy.
Brother DuPont. All right. Brother DuPont, we used to have college meetings when I was a child, all over. But I especially remember the ones at DuPont. Remember DuPont Crossing, where that is now?
Yeah.
All right, some of those were where some of those college meetings took place.
Claire, you need to tell the younger group that be watching this what a college meeting is.
Well, a college meeting was when you went to the homes and you did the
And
golf.
invite people to come
Right,
to the
come
home.
to the home.
You had a formal
Right.
meeting, minus the second.
Uh-huh.
Otherwise,
That's right.
That's what I was raised up to, brother.
Uh-huh.
That's what I was raised up to when I was a kid. That's all church we got to go to for a while.
you know, when you want a little humor, let me tell you something that just made me think of. Back in the early days, my early days at Gordon Street, our children had reached the point where they were dancing too close together.
Oh, yeah.
And the bishops didn't particularly like that, so they gave them strict instructions, which was church rules at that time, that if you come, be prepared to dance 18 inches apart. Otherwise. So it was so cute, Snooky, you may have been a part of this, I don't know, but the next time that they came, which was within a month, to the dance, we looked out, and it happened almost exactly as I'm telling you. Every boy had a yardstick under his arm. Dancing with this girl, 18 inches, so we had to say.
Let me tell you something about Bishop Royal. And this happened, I was there. People were being very careless about how they looked coming to church. And you know Bishop Royal, he's very, easygoing.
Yeah.
You know how he is. But he got right up there and he told them about brushing their teeth with Babbo. That's right. And washing their hair and doing all this kind of stuff that some of the people were not doing. Didn't make any bones of it. I remember that. I was sitting there. Nobody told me that. But he did.
Brush your teeth with Babbo.
With Babbo if you needed to get it clean. That's right. Some people were
Well, at
not.
least he didn't say 20 mule team borax.
The Babbo was the cleaning thing they did.
One
Okay,
other
let me-
quick thing about Bishop Woods that I found funny, but knowing him, you can appreciate it. I heard him speak at a man's funeral one time, and this hasn't been forever ago. And the first words that came out of his mouth when he stood up was, I'm not going to call the man's name. You don't have to do much in the He said,
It's very informal, isn't it?
he said, and calling the man's name, let's say it was Tom Smith. He said, Tom Smith was a scoundrel. This is in the man's funeral. But everybody there, practically at least, knew Bishop Royal and knew where his heart was. And they weren't offended, the family wasn't offended. And then he went on to say the complimentary things and point out the good in the man.
About what a fine scoundrel he was.
Well, he died.
I want to ask you, where was the cottage meet the DuPont now? You got
At Brother DuPont's home, at DuPont Crossing. That's
Who's
one
Brother DuPont?
He's the one who lived in DuPont Crossing?
He was one of the early people in the church.
Oh, I don't remember.
That's way before your time.
Yeah,
Yeah, so you weren't there yet.
I wasn't there, that's right. I stole my time.
I don't remember what year you started coming to church.
Oh, I went to the King Street.
I know, but what year did you start coming?
I'd have to go back. Now, you're trying to get my age.
Well, I don't mind anybody know my age. I've just turned 71 on Labor Day.
Oh, you older than me then.
How much older am I?
I don't tell you.
I know.
Okay, let's think
Well,
about
Ruthie's
this.
got you both beat, so y'all stop arguing.
I don't mind, who knows my age?
Think about this question
I'm the
and
senior.
just kind of go along. If there's anyone who wants to add anything to this, please do. What are the biggest changes you see in the church here today from those early days?
Oh,
We don't
I
have
can
enough
tell you right
fellowship.
now. We need, more,
Parties.
yeah, that, but not that. Oh, when you come into church, you need to be
More
really
fellowship.
right.
Right.
Fellowship,
Yeah.
fellowship.
I just finished
That
that
is-
fellowship.
That is what we miss today. We don't have it around here.
And when we started,
Sorry.
when we started, what is the word I want when you do the wards? We had to separate.
Split the wards.
When we split the wards, thank you. When we had to split the wards,
Yeah.
that's when it started.
Yeah, I believe
That's
so.
when it started, and it's been there ever since. People will stand up and tell you in church right now how much they love you, and you walk right across, past them in the hall, and they wouldn't speak to you.
That's
for love
right.
language.
Especially if they're from the second ward.
I don't see that
That's
now.
a more rivalry.
I don't know where they're from. Just not the people we had down there on Gordon Street. That was the most loveliest places you could go to. You just love to go to church.
See, we went to church all the time.
We went to church, priesthood was 7:30 on Sunday morning. Sunday school was like 10
10
o'clock.
o'clock.
And the sacrament was 4 o'clock or 5
6
o'clock in the afternoon.
Yeah, but we used to have sacrament twice a day. We had sacrament in
And
the morning, then we
during
had
Sunday
it again.
school.
That's
And
right.
then sacrament and
Yeah,
sacrament meeting.
that's right.
And we had 2.5-minute talks to the Sunday school, and they were great. Nobody does those anymore.
Then in the afternoon, you went back to our primary meeting, our young women's people, and then at night after that, you had choir practice.
What?
They turned around Mondays, we started
And
primary.
primary on Tuesday.
Remember, when we went to Sunday school, we had to walk to Sunday school and go back home on Ray Street, walk back up there at 6 o'clock,
Come
go to
back,
church that night.
sacrament, yeah.
We got good leg.
That's what we had to do.
I want to,
I didn't have any shoes.
Oh,
since
wow.
someone mentioned Howard Carroll a while ago, I have to mention Shirley. Because Shirley is my dearest friend, and I miss her very much.
She'll be here for the celebration.
Yes, she will.
Yeah.
And, but she and I work together in primary, and we work together in Relief Society. And anytime I think about Shirley in connection with the church, I see her there in primary particularly, teaching the children to sing. And she always had a smile, and she always encouraged them to sing, and they did sing for her. They sang beautifully for her. She had a very special talent, which she shared so many different ways. And so we really, of course, we miss Howard, we missed him, and then Shirley moved out to Utah, and we miss her still.
I remember when we would, when the fair was down here, we had to go make bread out to Dorchester, a lodge it was. But we couldn't go till after 12 o'clock. When they clean up, the people would clean up their mess, and then we'd go in and make our mess, and we had to clean it up. So we had to work from 12 to 5, yeah, that's right. And I remember Sister Floyd and Sister Mary, when they said they'd be there to get you, they'll be there. And so I was there every night, and she kept saying, "Ever, can you work tomorrow night? Can you work tomorrow night?" I said, "Well, as long as I can hold out, I'll work, you know." It was hard work. Now making bread, and then take it in the fair and sell it, in the booths there.
We made brownies and fudge too.
Yeah.
And you see, the fair would not allow us to do this from our homes because we had to have 3 sinks.
Yeah.
And
Nobody in the ward
nobody
had
had.
3 sinks.
All right, Shirley Lyons was the Jewish Society president, and her husband, what's his name?
Bobby.
Bobby was a good friend of the man who ran Dorchester Bowl
Yeah,
Lodge. And
that's
he told
right.
him what our predicament was. So he offered to let us use it from 12 at night till 5 o'clock in the morning. That's when we worked. Besides all the working at home and the getting together, doing all the moo-moos and all of that kind of work. This was just
One time we go to sleep,
the eating end.
Yeah, we went there, and then we had to sell it in the.
And what we didn't sell, we sold after the fair. What we didn't sell, then we had a big bazaar just before Christmas, and we sold it then. Had a big
Announced in
fair.
church if any members wanted it in the bread.
How about the fish fries?
Oh,
Ooh, and
yeah.
the chicken suppers.
And chicken suppers. I was
Cooked in the cellar.
The Memphis just was good on that.
Did you want the chicken? Oh, yeah. Listen, well, they do, but it wasn't half plucked, you know. They, you know what they do to it. You have to clean it up real good. I have stood in that kitchen and plucked chicken, so I thought I was going to turn it.
You never heard about singeing them.
Sing it,
I didn't know
that's
it was
what
singing.
Yeah, you have to sing
And
it.
Sister Ruby Evans was down there just baking those biscuits as fast as she could make them, and the other men were down in the cellar.
Yeah, I remember
where
Louis
they
Crosby.
Louis Crosby frying
Right,
the chicken,
and
smoke
that's
billowing
right.
up those steps.
And they would sell a zillion tickets to those men and women out at the Navy Yard, because they knew we had good food and a reasonable price. And oh my goodness, it was, oh.
We used to sell Krispy Kreme donuts.
Yeah.
On
the
Saturday
primary
mornings.
window. Saturday mornings, hot as all get out, going around
Car
car to car. Finally, by the last 2 or 3 hours, the frosting would melt off the donuts. It was so hard. We'd still be out there selling those donuts for 60 cents a box.
How about the box
Building
up?
Trying to get money for
For
this
the
and
building.
that.
For
How about
this
the box
building,
up?
we sold Christmas trees off of this
Christmas
line.
trees are, back years ago.
And another thing I remember, my first husband, the church, this church here, wasn't there, and they had Christmas trees out on the lot there. And my husband wasn't a member. Him and my son stood out every night, kept that trailer.
Not every night, because I was there a few nights.
Well, excuse me.
They were there the other night. They were there most of the night.
Well, it seemed like every night.
I guarantee
And
you.
he said they sold Christmas trees to get this church in.
David, you asked though about changes. I think one of the most notable changes beyond the numbers back then of members and numbers now, has been the fact that back then, you'd say LDS and people would say LD who? You know, we weren't known. We're known today.
Yeah, we
I
are.
remember when someone came to me and said, let's sell this piece of property. We had it was paid for before construction began. And back then we had to raise, as Ralph said, mentioned the 20,000 earlier, we had to raise a very significant amount of money for our part to build this chapel.
Right.
And they said, we can sell this property and have enough profit beyond what we paid for it to go back over here, and it was in this direction, about a mile or two, in a community, and buy a piece of property as big on which we can build our church. We'll have our money, we can do it now. And they wanted to know how I felt about it. And I said, I mean, in a split second, I said, absolutely not. We've been on the back streets too long. We now have a choice piece of property where we can be seen and can be recognized. And for my part, this is where the church will be built.
Yeah, they wanted to build a Beechwood Road.
Yeah.
Beechwood Road, right? With the Harley property.
That's right, that's right.
How about,
Lena Harley.
Lena Hall is right down there.
yeah, how about the, Brother Bishop Harley's outhouse? Anybody remember
Oh,
that?
that was his office.
Oh, his little office back
Office,
before the gym
office.
was built?
Yes.
This little wood shed, he had his office back
It
there.
came from Gordon Street, though. Was it Gordon Street?
Yeah, it was,
Brought
wasn't it?
down here.
Yeah, that was my Sunday school class in the bishop's office, and Buddy Harper was my teacher.
My daddy always said,
Yeah.
love to see this church built here.
In that little building.
Which it is.
Mm-hmm.
That's what it is.
Yeah, I had
I'd forgotten what I was at big time.
And I want to say something else. I've always wanted to say something else.
You go, girl.
Brother Groves, I would give anything practically, if I had written down some of the things he said.
Yeah.
And one in particular, the one that stands up the most, is he could tell you know, he could read any book and tell you page, paragraph,
And he had
sentence.
fourth grade
I mean,
education.
he absolutely had a mind that was unreal.
Yeah.
But he would tell us how many times the Bible has been translated.
Yeah.
And I just had that knowledge today so that I could present it to my husband.
Yeah.
But anyway, he did. He kept told you book, the page number, chapter, whatever,
Left hand,
verse,
right
everything.
hand, middle,
He
top.
could tell you everything
Middle,
about
top.
it. And that's the one thing that stands on my side all the
One other thing
other.
about Brother Grove,
Huh?
one other thing about Brother Grove we ought to mention. He only had one eye, he had a
Right,
whole
one
eye.
eye.
And his other eye was so bad, he had to
He had to hold it up like
red
this.
up to his face.
And he had fourth grade education, he told us
Right.
that.
And he,
Every time
he
he got
could quote the Bible, the
Yeah,
verse,
graphic
the number,
But had fourth grade.
exactly what it says.
It was never
You
wrong.
didn't need to look it up to find out, it was right.
He was the cutest thing, though. I've seen it many times.
He had
When he,
photographic
when he,
memory.
when he would talk with the sister, he kept real close to her so he could see who it was, you know.
Yeah.
And it just a little bit, without fail, some of you will remember this, just before he got back to a normal position, he got a little kid.
Oh, yeah. Yes, he did.
And he was their age, et cetera, and he could.
Well, I wasn't gonna mention that.
I was going to mention something else, I will not.
Mention these things,
And he would say,
He was on my cheek.
oh yeah, he would say to me and other people much younger than him, he'd say, Brother Cooper, if I had your youth and education, I wouldn't be here nowhere else. I said, I'm Brother Grove. Everybody got to be somewhere, you know. But he had some routines he went through, and I remember those two particular things real well. He was an outstanding man. Let me tell you one other faith promoting experience that's come to my mind. Back when I would sit in bishopric meetings with the various bishops over the years, and Brother Woodard would be there, Carlson. If they ever gave Carlson an assignment, didn't matter what it was, and he would typically get the difficult things to do. But when the assignment was made and the request was made as to what the bishop wanted done, I remember so vividly, and always will, he would say, Bishop, consider it done. And that's always been a faith-promoting experience for me to have observed that, and very quickly I come to know that when Carlson said it, you can forget it. You can move on to something else. It would be done.
Okay. Everybody say goodbye. Bye.
I'm Pete Combs, and the missionaries tracked us out, I guess, about 9 years ago, and my wife joined after about 3, and I came every Sunday and studied and listened and procrastinated, and it took me another 3 years before I joined, so I've been in about 3 years now, and it's obviously changed my life as it has so many other people. I'm glad to be here. Charleston First Ward is full of wonderful people, and it's a wonderful way of life, and I'm glad to be here.
I'm Sister Evangelina Julian Salego. I came from the Philippines, and I've been 16 years now being a member, and I love being a member of the church, and I gained my testimony. Now I've been here for my husband and my baby, and I miss in the Philippines. I miss my brothers and sisters in there. My first calling in the Philippines is Sunday school teacher, and then president of the Relief Society. I have a lot of calling. President in Young Women Presidency, and primary president in primary. I think a lot of callings I have. So in 16 years, I've been happy because I learned a lot of things about Jesus Christ, and now that I've been here, I'm happy because my husband is here and I love the First Word.
My name is Pete Schlegel. I'm the other Pete. This is number 1 and I'm number 2. And I'm not originally from Charleston. I'm from the South, though, in Miami. And I came to know the church a few years ago, about 7 years ago, through the auspices of a sweet young lady that introduced me to the church. And I'm very grateful for her and her help in guiding me to the gospel. It's been a real powerful influence on my life, and I'm grateful to do my small part in this church. I've been working mostly with the missionaries for the past several years as a state missionary, a ward mission leader in the state mission presidency, and really enjoy meeting with investigators and new members and hearing the things that they have to say and helping them find the gospel too. I met my wife through her aunt, and we had been corresponding about 6 years, and we got married 3 years ago, almost 3 years ago. And it was a wonderful, wonderful experience. And she keeps me straight and I'm grateful for her love and companionship. And sorry to hear that we're in a downward slide right now in First Ward, but we're going to pick that right up, and I'm going to get with the bishop on that, and we're going to get like we were on Gordon Street.
Yeah, I was.
So we're going to pick that downward slide right back up again and get with it. And this is our newest member right here. I don't know if you can see her or not. Her name's Kristen. And she's just about 5 weeks old, Kristen Lorraine, and she is a bundle. I never knew a little baby could have so much lung power, but they do. God blessed us with her, and she is a real sweet, sweet angel. And she just came down from Heavenly Father and our Savior just a few weeks ago. And I wish she could tell us all about it, but she can't. But she's precious, and we're glad to have her here. And that's all we have to say right now.
I joined the church when I was small, and my mother and I joined the same day. And we were baptized out on the roof out here somewhere, but it was freezing cold. Brother Bell baptized us in the river. I remember that we came out with blankets. It's been so long ago, I don't remember. But anyway, that's what happened with our baptism. And a year later, my father joined.
Well, who are you?
Oh, golly, I'm just going all over the place chattering, and I'm telling you who I am. My name is Altrude. I used to be a Wooded, then I turned to be a Kilpatrick, and then I got up to be a Clough.
Yeah.
Somehow,
I remember your daddy and mama both real well. I loved your daddy real lot. When I was working downtown, when Kilpatrick was working in the shoe store, he'd come down there and spend some time with them, and I worried about him going across the street. And when I'd go to lunch, and I'd catch him by the hand, come on, brother. I said, let's go. I'd help him cross the street more than one time, me and him talk. I worried about him going across that street, thought somebody would hit him, But we were good friends, and your mama, I thought she could play that organ better than anybody I ever heard, to tell you the truth.
Yes.
And if I was on the outside coming in, I said, boy, Sister Wood's got that organ going. And it was, she played good, good, real good. But she was a good woman, and your daddy was too. I mean, both of them, real good.
Yes, my mother and father were good members of the church, and they really loved God.
Yeah.
And I'd take my daddy to town every day when I worked. I just worked part-time. And I'd take him to town every morning so he could get up for the day and enjoy, because he'd had a stroke. And he got on pretty well. But we were always, not braggingly saying it, we were always within the church. And that was our life. Going to church and looking forward to Sunday.
How did you obtain your testimony of the gospel?
I'm sorry?
How did you obtain your testimony of the gospel?
How do I obtain it? Well, it seemed within my heart. I always knew it was true, even though I was a small child. And I grew up in the church, and I was taught the gospel by my mother and my father. And we had to live it as good as we could. As a result of being in church when we were supposed to, doing things we were supposed to do. Altrude obtained a great testimony of the gospel, and it's never relinquished. It's always been strong and always will be till the day I die.
What are some of the things you remember about the church on King Street?
Well, I led the music from the time I was about 12, 13, let's see, a long story, about 13 years old. So, all through my whole life, I did patriarchal blessings for the three patriarchs. I taught Sunday school, and, it was always in it. Loved the church, and I loved God. And that was what was within my heart.
today is still the same. I love him and I love to come to church.
Can you think of any humorous stories or events that happened while, in the church during the time you've been in the church?
Well, one time we were in church and there was a lady named Sister Rivers. She was really a great lady.
Rivers?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah, she was a good lady. And her boys would come to church and they'd sit in the back row sort of like, you know, and she'd get after them, but they'd eat peanuts, a shell of peanuts, throw them all over the church floor. And they got after them about that. But that was what they
Yeah, but I remember Bishop Roll wouldn't let none of his members come into church chewing gum. If he called them, he'd tell them to put it out. He'd get the chewing gum out your mouth. He wouldn't let them chew no gum. But I remember Sister Hannah and Sister Ebanks. You remember them too?
Yeah.
Well, my children were small, and we had to sit on the last row. You know, everybody got small children. Bishop Ross said, sit on the last, he said 5 rows, but didn't take that many. But anyway, I'd sit on that back row. And right ahead of me, regardless where I sit with my children, be Sister Ebanks and Sister Hannah. And, you know, they wasn't supposed to sit like that, but they did. And if my poor little son would move his foot like that or squeak around in the chair, she'd turn around a little bit and keep him quiet. Keep him quiet. Wouldn't make no noise, you know. I tied my children out many, many times and whipped them when it wasn't right to whip them, you know. And we tried to get out from Sister Hannah and Sister Ebanks. We tried to get out from them, not sit behind them. And somehow or another, they get ahead of us every Sunday. Every Sunday. And so I couldn't get rid of them. But anyway, when my children got large, I said, you just wait. One day, when my children gets big, I ain't sitting in the back of the church no more. That's why today I don't like to sit in the back of the church, because I had enough of it.
Well, I think, I don't want to call wrong name, but I think that Bishop Ross, he had a lot of kids, right?
Yeah, same.
Well, no, it wasn't Bishop Ross. It was,
Harper? Who?
Harper? No.
Bishop Harper didn't have no children.
Harley.
Harley.
Sister Harley had a bunch of children.
Yes.
She let them sit all on the front row.
Yes.
And somebody would go to say the prayer. Boy, I'm telling you, they'd scream and cry and carry on the whole prayer.
Yeah.
And then at the end of the prayer, just when it was just about them to say amen, she shut them up. She got it.
Well, it's about that. I was on her visiting teaching list for me to go. We went out there to visit Sister Marilyn. And she had a big piano in the room. We'd sit in there, you know. And she let the little old boy, cute little thing, get up there and just, frame on that piano while we was trying to get the lesson. Couldn't hear for nothing. So she probably woke up though after.
So we are really sinners. We sitting here talking about our sisters in the gospel.
Well, no, I guess this is how it's doing, you know.
I know.
They talk about mine too in this smaller record.
What's the biggest changes you've seen in the church as to how access and stuff to the church and the meetings and all? Yeah.
Well, it's the same way on Gordon Street as it was. Well, it was only bad on King Street. But then it sort of changed them all when it came here. They had the boards.
The church is larger.
Well, not only that, they had a lot of kids there too, but they kept them a little bit, more quiet. Just where they would a little bit more reverent, let's say, when they were here. And they've gotten great now. They're really reverent.
I thought, remember Kent Harley, wasn't that one of the boys' name, Harley, children? Yes, Floyd Harley's. Wasn't it Kent? When? Quinn? Yeah. Well, I used to teach him in Sunday school. And then last time I seen him,
Well, if you only got old, I said, well, you trying to make me old, you know. They can't do that. It's,
Yeah, tell me what you saw.
yeah, it sure
Can you
does.
think of some things that happened in Relief Society?
Quilt parties. Making quilts.
Yeah, I actually go, but I wasn't very crafty. You know, you had to do very much craft.
Did you quilt anything?
Might have helped a little bit, but
Oh, I love to do that. I love to sit there and quilt.
How about the dances and the dinners that
oh
we had?
yeah, man.
And the
Dances.
chicken suppers and the fish suppers.
Yeah, did anybody mention about that when we were over on
Gordon.
Gordon Street? They had the lovely suppers.
Yeah,
And my mother worked over in that kitchen like nobody's business,
yeah.
dishing on it.
Well, we didn't have one of the big members, but everybody. I know one brother Bowles. Him and Lewis cooked that chicken and fried that fish.
And
I
my
can see it
mother
now.
put it in the plate.
Yeah. And everybody helped.
They had some great dances, which they don't have now.
Yeah.
Sister Claude, wasn't your mother the organist
Yeah.
over at Gordon Street?
Yes.
For a long
King
time?
Street, Gordon Street,
Out here too, wasn't it?
and here.
Yeah.
She got where she couldn't play much
Yeah.
after
I can
Well,
remember
the hands,
years
she had
and
arthritis.
years.
Yeah.
How
She
about
was
your
great.
children in the church? What do you think it meant to you and your children to have a church raising your children?
It was everything. Because without them being raised in a church, where would they be today?
Yeah.
What would they be doing and who would they be married to instead of in the temple? And my children really, not braggingly saying it, but they really did great because they were a single mother, more or less. But I had to teach them what was right, what was wrong, and teach them about the girls and who'd go with and how to act and behave themselves and all that kind of stuff.
How many of your boys served a mission?
2. One was in medical school, and the other, what was he doing? The other one, he was working, he just didn't go on mission. He was a missionary. And they were not as prominent then, but going on a missions as they are now. And to think, myself and my husband were the first and only missionary couple to go on
Yeah.
a mission.
Remember that? Yeah. And you went for the second time too.
Yeah.
That's good.
Worked in the temple all these years.
That's good.
Okay?
Yeah. Adios.
Bye-bye. Say bye.
All right, I'm Cindy Willis Oglesby, and I'm original from Gordon Street. I live now in Crowfield Ward, but Charleston First is my home. Your turn.
And who's child?
I'm Tommy Willis Provost. I was raised on Gordon Street. We went to all our meetings on that street. My mom said that she used to take us to King Street by bus, all 5 little children. I don't remember it because I must have been a baby. And because I don't remember it being that many, but there's 5 of us catching the bus, just for a short time. And then I was baptized in 1960, December 2nd, 1960. My father made us wait until I was 10 years old. So you know my age, that's okay. Very proud of it because I'm a grandma. I was really excited that day because my dad showed up, and he's a non-member, showed up to my baptism, and it was a special time because he was a person that didn't show up to a lot of things at the church. And one special moment that I can remember him, we had family home evening at home when they just started talking about it. Mom used to hold family home evening, we used to have hot chocolate, and us little kids just get up. I don't remember the talks and stuff we used to talk about, but I remember the hot chocolate was always so good. And then we had family prayer at night. I remember Dad coming in one time and joining us, and that was a special moment too, that I felt like maybe the church was touching him, so that was really special. And I guess it kept me strong in the church, wanting to stay strong in the church and go to seminary with all these people around me. And getting married in the temple and getting married in the temple to a wonderful guy and adopted 5 great children.
I'm Carolyn Willis Snook, but no one calls me that. I'm Snooky and always will be. I was fortunate enough to have been raised in the church. I can remember sitting on Gordon Street because I happen to be the oldest sitting here at this moment, in terribly hard chairs that seemed like they were real big to me at that time, real tall or something. I just remember they were big. My family joined the church in 1897. No, excuse me, 1896, 1898, you're right, it'll be 100 years next year. March of 1898, our great-grandmother and great-grandfather joined the church out in Colleton County.
On the Marchant side.
No, and on the Marchant side and the Crosby side. And we just found out just a few years ago that it was on both sides of our family. We did not know that until recently. Our grandfather, Archie Crosby, was very firm in the church. It was very important to him. He taught it to his children. He had many cottage meetings at his home. He had the missionaries come and stay there. And he raised his children in the church. And through him and his faith and our grandmama, the church came to us. And I feel that that's one of the greatest gifts that I've ever been given on this earth. Because I was raised by my mom, who's a member of the church, but my dad never joined the church. He went to church, and we always called him a dry water Mormon because he never got baptized, but he sure did preach Mormonism. But he never stopped us from going to church. And so having that as my foundation has been very important to me because without it, I don't know how I would have raised my children, especially raising them by myself through the years. And sitting many times alone in the church. And people in my ward know that one of the most difficult things for me to do now is to sit by myself because my kids are all grown now. But when I stop and think about the church, the memories just flood because most of my memories have something to do with the church or the church members. I mean, that's where it was. And I can remember as a child, when they built the Gordon Street Chapel, I can remember when they added the chapel part onto the rest of the building, and just unreal, playing outside and running around that building, and the courtyard, and then on the back side of the building, when I was little, it was, I don't know what it was built for, but it was cement, and it was a brick wall, and we'd play out there for hours and hours. And because, of course, the grown-ups were always in at some meeting. But then I remember when we got older, they turned that area into the Jubilee Sunday School, remember? Yeah. And, but half of them, everything you did was something to do with the church. I mean, it was church all day on Sunday. We had to go all the way to Columbia for any kind of conferences and any kind of state meetings. I can remember going to Golden Green Ball all the way in Columbia. I had me a pretty new dress. Can remember that and how exciting I was, and we went out to, had a activity that day, it was just really, my friends were there. That's where I wanted to be.
And all the road shows up there too.
Oh, the road shows. Diane and I used to do our things for the road shows. Well, we had our talent. Oh, and were y'all ever in any of the fashion shows?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, the fashion show. Well, Chris, I don't know.
Yes. I like the box suppers.
Oh, yeah, man. Ronnie Talent bought one of my box suppers.
Coming back from Columbia, you stopped by Owen's barbecue.
That's right. No, the root beer place.
Oh, yeah, we always got that
A&W.
place.
Well, y'all did.
Yeah.
We did the root beer.
That was with the parties and the cookers and stuff.
Yeah, and I don't know.
Okay, my turn. I'm Debbie Woods Welch, the daughter of Vance and Doris Woods. I was born into the church. I'm third generation Mormon. I'm told that my grandmother, Belle Smith Woods Hodges, oops, was the first one to join the church in our family. And she, the missionaries came to her door and she let them in, she listened to them, and she joined the church. And she used to help the missionaries hide from the people who were chasing after them, trying to run them out of town. So she was a very special lady who died a few years back. I really miss her, and I miss my parents who have also died. I can remember on Gordon Street when my mom was the junior Sunday school coordinator, and she used to come home every Sunday with a headache because the children would wiggle around in the chairs, and there was tile on the floor, and there were wooden chairs, and so it was really loud. So she'd drive to my dad, and so my dad came up with the idea of nailing the chairs together with these boards underneath. So there were like 3 or 4 chairs together. So boy, you had to get all 4 of you moving at the same time to get those chairs to move. My mother was so much happier. But the worst part was that I was taking piano lessons at that time. My cousin, Gene Woods Jr., played the piano for junior Sunday school. In his absence, my mother, being the junior Sunday school coordinator, forced me to play the piano, which was the most terrifying experience. I'm scarred for life, even to this day, because I was terrible at it. I'm still terrible at it. So that was one thing I definitely remember. Of course, I remember the fashion shows. I have a picture of my mom in this evening gown that she made by what we would consider fashionable today. This is really quite a comical looking dress, but I'm sure it was beautiful back then. Also, she had me in this hideous hat that I'm sure she had made along with the dress. But those pictures are some of my most valuable possessions, as funny as they are. I can remember the bazaars. The Relief Society sisters would make different handcrafted items and sell them to each other to try to raise money. And that seemed to be the name of, that's what we were doing all the time, is trying to raise money. And I remember the Christmas trees that we sold on this property.
Yes.
It's been mentioned before. And my dad brought his camping trailer over here and parked it on this property. And whoever stayed at night to kind of guard the trees would stay in that trailer. So that's just a few of the things that I remember. And the church is so important in my life right now. It's more important than it was back as a child. I just took it for granted, but I really appreciate the gospel in my life and the way my testimony has grown in just the last 10 years and continues to grow. And I'm just grateful for all the callings that I've had. I'm working with the young women now, which is the best calling I've ever had, and I say that about every calling I get. It's the best one. But right now, this is the best one, and I feel like I'm going through this young women program because back when I was a teenager, I didn't always tend to MIA the way I should have. So I'm getting in that training now, a little late, but better late than never.
But you were at seminary every day, because Sister Godfrey brought you.
Sister Godfrey picked me up, much to my sorrow, and she
was the
put me
teacher.
there.
And Godfrey used to pick up a lot too.
Brother Woodard was talking about Sister Godfrey on the,
Yeah.
he went on and on.
I never got to go to some.
Sister Godfrey would always, the 4 years that we went, I don't know how
I
many years.
didn't go 4 years.
You didn't? I went 4 years. I remember the last year we had to help teach. But Sister Godfrey, I thought, wow, I'm sure glad I'm not having to go.
What a dedicated woman.
She was
wonderful.
She,
Her
and
husband
she was
was
so
not a
patient with us.
member.
We were so bad.
Where's she at?
Because we always want to take pictures, remember?
I do have some pictures too. I have one of Angie Wilburn out on that little brick wall in front of the church. She's posing like this.
And we were in the car like we were tired. We did everything to, and she was so patient with us, putting up with us, with us trying to get out of class. And us coming there with, I think I wore the same dress for 2 years. It zipped up in the front. That was the only thing I could hurry up and get on in the morning. I'd go home and change and get ready for school.
Yeah. Well, nowadays they have camp. They still go to camp.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
a lot different now than it was when we went. And we had Sister Wilburn, Sister Frances Wilburn was our camp director, leader, cook, water washer, and everything else. You know, she did the whole thing. She was so much fun. She made camp like, we couldn't wait to go because it was so much fun. One year she had this old Nash Rambler station wagon. It was packed to the top, you know, with all of us girls. I think it was like 8 or 10 of us girls on our, you know, Charleston coming. And we went, I don't know how many miles, it was way out camp where we went. And we started having car trouble. And we drive a little bit and the car started shaking, shaking, shaking. And we stopped at some service station. And the guy said there was something wrong with the carburetor. So he told us that we'd have to hit this carburetor because it had trash or something in it. We'd go down the road and it started shaking. Sister Wilburn would get out there and she'd bam on this carburetor with the shoe. And we did that all the way going and had to do it coming back. And kind of find out it wasn't the carburetor it was wrong, it was something else.
Mr. Randall.
But we did, we had so much fun.
Betty Boodle of Grace School was good character.
I remember one night going to Young Women's, or Tommy here was my teacher. I was very young. And it was Halloween, so we had to dress up. Tommy dressed like Pippi Longstocking, and she had an old station wagon. And my cousin Lynn Crosby, she dressed like a clown, and I dressed like Aunt Jemima. And we were going down, and Tommy got pulled over by a cop. And the cop looked at us and started laughing. And of course, Tommy had to say, "We're going to a party." He goes, "What, at church?" He says, "Are you sure?" We were ridiculous.
They didn't believe that I was the leader of the
Yeah, she was the leader of us. She was the leader. She was the leader of us all.
Did he charge you anything?
No, he did not. As far as I can remember, he didn't charge us anything. I can remember going to camp here and thinking how hard it was. And us dealing with the rats, remember, in the cabin.
That's why I only went 1 year.
And I moved out west, and when I became Young Women's leader out there, they said, you're gonna go to camp with the young girls. And I thought, okay, well, we'll go, you know, there's gonna have cabins. But they said, now make sure you bring your own tent. And that was a rude awakening for me. And they said, and bring a tent for your food. And so that was a week that I'll never forget, because the girls that I was over, they cried the whole week, and it rained the whole week while we were in our little tents. And I thought how thankful I was that we grew up and we had cabins in South Carolina. We had to walk 5 miles to get to another place for breakfast one day. And I was so thankful to be grew up in South Carolina. And those Westerners, they really believe in cabins.
And you know, another story I think about Uncle Louis and Aunt Selena. They were always there, always taking us places. And when I worked in primary, when I was a young mother, I rode with Aunt Selena all the time. She was always going to come pick me up because I didn't have a car. And you know, and you think about different people, and none of them were famous or in the newspaper or anything, but when I think about people in my life that really have been important, I think about the people at church. I mean, you know, I think about
Walter Harley, Fred.
Walter Harley, yeah. And
Floyd Harley.
And Floyd, oh
yes.
man.
We used to give her a hard time about being in the South, but
Sister Georgia Woods.
And so did Georgia Woods. She's another one that was real patient with us.
She taught me Sunday school every year for 4 years.
I think she taught us our last year of Young Women, or near that, and I was really surprised. And I began to like her. I thought she was real mean. And then I thought, she's really a nice person. And when Stephanie was sealed us, no, Jeffrey was sealed us, she lived in Utah. And she got to babysit for Jeffrey. And so that was really a nice experience. And they had a Charleston room in their basement in Utah. And he had to take us down there and show us that, Brother Woods. And that was really a special time for that. Yeah, I remember.
We've lost a lot of the first ward members to the west.
Yes, a lot of
Carols.
Yeah, a lot of them moved out that way.
Harleys and Carols.
Harley.
Let's see, who else went out there?
Oh, there's a bunch of them.
And growing up, going to school was very hard because you only had like 3 Mormons in the whole school.
I was
And we were outcasts. We were outcasts. can remember going to St. Andrews High School. Diane Woods, which is Debbie's sister, Donna Seifert, and myself were the only three Mormons there, and we were the outcasts. But we shined. We showed them what we were made out of. We were not little.
I remember them asking us one morning, we stopped at 7-Eleven going from seminary, and they said, what are y'all doing up? You know, what are you doing? And we said, we just came from church. And well, church? And they were really impressed. And I think when we went to Jewish Center, they were really impressed that they couldn't believe that teenagers would go to church in the morning.
I think people are still impressed today.
I think that, and I think our kids need to remember that too. They are. Yeah.
I think we need to let them remember.
Yeah.
We need to tell them the stories about things that
We had a
happened.
lot of fun riding together.
Yeah, and, you know.
She had to ride with the teacher.
What?
You had to ride with the teacher.
Yeah, I had to ride with the teacher. I had to be good.
Well, I can remember going to dance down in Savannah, Georgia with Chris Cooper. He takes us to McDonald's, parks us in a McDonald's parking lot, and made us go next door to Burger King to eat, because we wouldn't be able to ride back in his car if we did not go to Burger King. And that was very cool, because he made us throw the paper on the ground. Chris, you did.
We tell that story now that Chris is gone.
Chris
Yeah.
did.
Chris did.
But, you know, it's, well, I think neat too, like we had conference last week. You come to conference and then you see, oh, there's so-and-so, you know.
From the different wards.
Yeah,
They were in our
different
ward.
wards, yeah. And we grew up together. And
The messengers. You know, I saw
Yes,
the messengers. They were a very big couple last night. They were part of our growing up years, you know, and that was really neat. And I can remember somebody who used to sit at the back door of the chapel would block the back door and let us go out to the bathroom. We were trying to leave sacrament at night. And I thought it was Brother Woodard, but it probably sounds like him. And I can't remember, but I remember him blocking the way. And we had to have a good excuse to leave sacrament.
Yeah, and I think of Sister Claire Tallett's brother, Don Risher.
Donald Risher.
He was
Yeah.
always the usher.
Yeah.
Remember?
Yeah.
At the door.
Yeah.
And we had rules, listen. We didn't chew chewing gum in the
I was
chapel.
gonna say, who told you to spit the gum out the door?
Bishop Royal. We were not allowed to go in at that time.
Well, there was a few of them that wouldn't let us
Bishop
Roll.
Bishop Royal was
I think Georgia Woods was
Look, you remember what Mama used to do to us?
We
Come
used to get
home
peach.
for sacrament, and she brought us by Krispy Kreme donuts, and we was good. We got a Krispy Kreme donut. But if we were not good, she would take off. She let us smell it all, and she would take off. That was our punishment.
Now, I don't remember that. I remember when I rode with them, I liked riding home with them. My cousins. We stopped at Dairy Queen.
There you go.
Royal.
Roll hard. I didn't know where. I always remember that Aunt Ellie would buy me an ice cream.
We were good.
And we were good. And so we would I'd try to be, the day that I knew that everybody was being good, I'd ride home with her. So I could get that ice cream. Mom would just pass it right on by.
But I think, another thing, everybody was kin to everybody.
Well,
The
they were all
Crosleys, the Willis, the Woodards, the Woods, the Harleys, the Ellis, everybody was kin to everybody.
Yeah, it was, and it was
Well,
everybody
Something
knew
is so
everybody.
different now.
Yeah.
Right, it's so
It is.
different.
Really.
Yeah,
Yeah,
especially in the first ward, you get a lot of students now, which
Right.
is wonderful, but it's
Right.
very different for us old timers.
Yeah.
It
I mean,
is.
and you went to church, you knew that when you got to church, Brother Donbridge was going to be at the door to say hello, the Bishop Rawl was going to be at the other door to say hello, and Sister Kilpatrick was going to be there leading that music.
Yeah.
And Sister Pearl was going to
I can remember the
be there
primary,
playing that
going to
music.
primary, and you had the little primary, crippled children bank. Y'all
Oh,
remember that?
yes.
You brought your pennies.
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 Oh, they were so
Children.
excited.
Yeah.
They put those pennies in that bag.
Wait for your birthday.
And then you got to double it or something.
Yeah.
I can't remember the
That was
double
your
part.
birthday or something, you got to.
But it was something
And then
about
it was something about double.
And I can remember going to pay my tithing to Brother Pope, the little, I can remember going to give him my little dime, you know, I was big, a whole dime, man.
Yeah, I have copies of receipts where Tommy's mama paid her tithing in 1933, and another copy where our granddaddy paid his tithing in 1925. And where a letter was written from the regional or area president or whatever he was called that time, thanking my granddaddy for paying his tithing. And, you know, gosh,
What was that, Smith?
thanking Papa for paying his tithing.
I can remember liking to ride the Papa's truck too. We used to get in the back of his truck and ride and put tracking. You know, you had to come home from church and Sunday school, and then you had to go back. And you get right, because we'd have to, all our family would gather together a lot of times, and then we'd go back to church. And I remember it was exciting to ride the back of Papa's truck.
Well, if they did, they stayed here in Charleston because they lived all the way out in Eddystone. So that's 45 miles. That took a long time to go.
But I remember when I got interviewed for my baptism, it was your uncle, Gene Woods, who baptized.
Bye-bye now.
Do you remember your baptism?
Oh, yes, I remember my baptism. I remember my dress.
I don't still sitting though, she know.
Well, I have to tell you before we leave about my baptism. It was in November the 30th, 1968, on a Saturday afternoon. My Uncle Lewis Crosby baptized me because my dad was not a member.
He baptized all of us.
I think he baptized all of us, didn't he? And it took him 5 different times to put me in the water because I was so scared of the water. And about 3 years ago, Uncle Lewis baptized his son-in-law in the Monk's Corner Ward. And he got up there, and I was there, and he got up there and told the story about me. And he says, and my niece is here today. I'll never forget you, Uncle Lewis, for doing that to me.
But you know, the neatest thing is, next March we'll be members of the church 100 years, and my son will come back from his mission in April. So maybe that's a little bit of thank you, missionaries.
Hi, I'm Diddy Squires. I grew up in downtown Charleston, but actually joined the church in 1975 in Winston-Salem, North Carolina, where I was living. And it was probably if I hadn't been away from Charleston and away from home, the gospel wouldn't have had a chance to really grow. I wouldn't have had a real chance, I think, to investigate it as I did and birth my own testimony. I'm so grateful that the Lord provided that way.
My name is Altrude Clough, and I've been a member of the church all my life, since I was 12 anyway. My mother and I were baptized on the same day in the Stone River, and it was freezing cold. But anyway, we got baptized and became members of the church at that time. I feel that I have always had a testimony of the gospel of Jesus Christ. I have always known that it was true. My mother taught us the gospel, and Father. And we always came to church every Sunday. We were here. My mother was a great pianist, and she played the piano her whole life in the church from King Street, Golden Street, to Sam Rittenberg Boulevard, just about until she died.
Tell us about your mission.
Oh, I would like to say that my husband and I served 2 missions, one in Texas and one in California, which were wonderful to us. It was the most wonderful blessing that we could have received. I have married in a temple to Robert Clough, even though my name is was Altrude Kilpatrick. And when I married him, a little later he joined the church and became a great member, and we were married in the temple. As I said before, we went on 2 missions, and we are now, and have been, when we weren't on the missions, we were ordnance workers in the Atlanta temple, and we still are. What else? There's something else on the church. I've always loved the Lord. Talking about testimonies, I've always loved the Lord. And within my soul, through my life, was implanted this great love of God. And it's still there, and will always be there, because of my feelings for my Heavenly Father, and for the blessings that He has given to me through my life.
Well, I'm Joy Ritter, and
I remember this wonderful lady leading music and singing on Gordon Street. I was Joyce Snipes. My parents are Margaret and Rudy, and I have a brother, Stephen. I've been a member of the church all my life and going all my life, although my parents weren't members. I came in through my Uncle Talmadge Boyles and my Aunt Madge Boyles, who's my mother's sister. And I think, like Sister Altrude, I always knew that the church was true, but I didn't really have a super testimony until I was in my 30s. It's kept me going for a long time. And because of my uncle and because of my aunt and the unconditional love that they gave to me no matter what spot I was in my life, I think that's what brought me in, kept bringing me in. I've never known anybody to have that kind of love that I was close to, and I strive to have that kind of love because it is a Christ-like type of love when you love somebody no matter what they do. And I know the gospel's true, and I'm grateful for it. As a matter of fact, I grew up with Dee Dee's brother, and we hung around her twin brother, who's now passed away, and so we have a connection here, all of us, in kind of a neat way. But I didn't know Dee Dee, but I knew her brother. And that's it for me.
I think a couple of the differences, the marked differences in the wonderful growth of the church, two great things that I see that have happened since I joined the church are certainly the revelation that all worthy male members of the priesthood of the church, all worthy male members of the church could hold the priesthood. I think that was a wonderful thing that happened in 1978, and I remember exactly where I was. I was living in Huntington, West Virginia, and it was on the 6 o'clock news, and we were sitting down to dinner with this non-member family that I was working with. And I remember feeling that that was an extraordinary thing that was happening for the growth of the church, even then. And the other thing I remember that was so wonderful was the announcement that all worthy women of the church could go to the temple, whether they were married or not. And that opened up a whole new opportunity for women to grow in their blessings in the church. I think that was a tremendous thing too.
Wait, I would like to say just one more thing. That being able to come to the church and raising your children within the church is the greatest opportunity that God could give and the great blessing. Because as a result, my children were raised in the church, all 5 of them. 4 of them are married in the temple. And this is a great blessing for any mother to know that the children are living right. Even though that 5th one didn't go to the temple yet, he's preparing himself and is living the gospel. And
I'd have to echo that to raise children, my wonderful Louis, Chris, and Jonathan, my boys, I may not always be the perfect mother that I want to be, but I know that I have the principles to teach them the right way to go and how to make righteous choices. And their father, Pat, is a wonderful, principled man. And together with the guidance of the gospel and our belief in Jesus Christ and the atonement, we can give them the tools that they need to grow up and serve mankind and all kind of Father's children. Oh, I do.
I would like to continue talking about the leaders of the Charleston First Ward. I've been in the church for many, many years. I was born into the church. My name is Debbie Woods Welch, and I'm the daughter of Vance and Doris Woods, who are now deceased. And I saw a lot of, I have seen a lot of leaders come through the Charleston First Ward, and I'm grateful that each one of them has touched my life in different ways. But I would also like to say that I'm so grateful for the bishop that the Charleston First Ward has today, and that's Bishop Reed Cram. I have heard so many missionaries who are leaving our ward to serve and who are returning to our ward from serving say that he is a great man, and he definitely is a great man. And he's touched so many lives in this ward, and I think that there are probably just about every member could say something that he has done for them or for their family, or how he has strengthened their testimony in some way. And I'd like to just say that it's because of Bishop Cram that I got my patriarchal blessing. I never did get it when I was a youth, and it was not that long ago that I did get it, just a few years back, and it was through his encouragement and his guidance and his counsel that I was able to get this. And after getting my patriarchal blessing, through some more counsel with Bishop Cram, he encouraged me to go to the temple to receive my own endowments, which I did. And I'm so grateful to him, because I had just been resting, I guess, and had not put forth the effort to get myself ready to go to the temple. And I'm so grateful to him for that influence that he had on me and for his encouragement. And I'm also grateful because he is my home teacher, and I'm so lucky. And I just want to thank him for all the time that he puts into leading our ward, and also thank his family for the time that they allow him to be away from them. And I know that they support him, and I just want to say that he has really touched my life, and to thank him for that.
I think Debbie's right. He's not only a great man, I feel like he's a holy man, that he is a man of God. Being around him is, you can feel his great spirit. I know that he's where he's supposed to be.
The same feeling about our bishop. He is a great man, and he's just so sweet.
Well, I'm grateful for this opportunity that I have to, I guess, talk briefly on this videotape as we commemorate the Jubilee, or 50th year of the creation of the Charleston Ward. And I just wanted, before I begin my comments, I wanted to mention the scripture found in Leviticus that talks about the 50th year being a holy time. And in that scripture, the Lord said over 5,000 years ago, "And thou shalt number 7 Sabbaths of years unto thee 7 times 7 years. And ye shall hallow the 50th year, and proclaim liberty throughout all the land unto all the inhabitants thereof. It shall be a jubilee unto you, and ye shall return every man unto his possession. And ye shall dwell in the land in safety, and the land shall yield her fruit, and ye shall eat your fill, and dwell therein in safety." Truly, this is a time of Jubilee, and the Lord has done a marvelous work in preparing this land and this area and this people for his work. Our family moved here in 1989. We arrived just in time for Hurricane Hugo. In fact, some claim that I brought it with me. But I remember very clearly those days. Brother Wayne Bowers kept tabs on our home to make sure it was safe. And we returned home after the storm, and there was in our yard 18 trees, 4 of which were piled on the house. And the day after we got back, I walked out with my axe, thinking I could begin to clear the trees away. And I didn't get through the first trunk, and I quit. And went in and said to my wife, I said, "Tina, I don't know how in the world we are ever going to get this yard cleaned up." And the next day, the brethren from Charleston and Savannah and Columbia came, and they didn't know us. We were new. But they handily, in less than half a day, cleared the yard and cleaned the trees and stacked them in the row. And that was my earliest experience with the brothers and sisters here. And we've been here these 9 years, and have felt to thank our Heavenly Father just about every day for the blessing of living among such a great people. I think often of the early pioneers of this area. Over 100 years ago, when the church was first organized, in those days there was one member for every 15,000 inhabitants of the state. Today we number 1 in 150. And truly the Lord is working His marvelous miracle amongst His children here. Elder Benny Rich, who was a missionary here for many years, a mission president, and served many missions, said this. He said, while I was laboring in the South, I was in the habit of paying a tribute to the people of the South. I want to pay a tribute to them now as the most God-fearing people, as a community, that I ever did missionary work among. They loved to hear a man preach from the Word of God, and the Lord prospered me while I was in that land. And I couldn't add anything to that. Those are my feelings exactly. Express our love and our testimony that this is God's work. In the name of Jesus Christ, amen.